Okay, so what I want to do today is start module 3 and go over chapter 6. It's not a very long PowerPoint, and then we'll go over the handouts that I've given everybody, and then I'll go run and get the exams. So I've got to bring those with me. Okay, so we're talking about food production control. And looking at the things we need to be concerned about when we're making our portions. So some of the definitions that we have, there's something called a butcher test. And this is a test designed to determine standard portion costs for those items portioned before they're cooked. So does everybody know what a beef tenderloin is? Okay, like it's the tenderloin, like they make the filet mignon out of that, and make beef Wellington. You can roast the whole thing. So you buy them whole, and then you usually cut them into individual portions. So we're going to look at that today. Then there's a cooking loss test. This is a test used to determine standard portion costs for those items portioned after cooking. So if you were like roasting turkeys for Thanksgiving buffet, or prime rib, or you've got a big piece of meat, you're going to cook it, and once you cook it, you lose some of the volume of the meat because it shrinks while it's cooking, and some of the juices are coming out of it. So it's not going to weigh as much, but if you're giving each guest the same amount as a portion, you want to know exactly how many portions you'll get out of that. A yield factor or yield percentage ratio of the weight of part of a product to the weight of that product as purchased. So for example, if you buy a banana costs, let's say it costs 30 cents to buy a banana. Nobody eats the peel. You can't sell the peel. And let's say it weighs 8 ounces with the peel on. Once you take the peel off of it, you can measure how much flesh there is to the banana and how much the weight of the peel is, and you can get your yield factor. So if the banana weighs 4 ounces and the peel weighs 4 ounces, you would have a yield factor of 50%. Okay. Can anybody think of something that has a yield factor of 100%? Okay, what about grab a handout? What about a like a loaf of bread, sliced bread? Okay. It's pretty close to 100%, but if you don't use the ends of the bread, you might have some loss on that. Okay, so I'm going to talk about quantifying or setting amounts for different ingredients and menu items. There's 3 different ways to do that. Okay, we can look at the weight of something, and it could be pounds, ounces, or if you're in metric, it could be in grams. So you may have on your menu a 24-ounce ribeye or an 8-ounce filet. You wouldn't say that you were serving a cup of filet. Volume This is commonly expressed in liquid ounces, or fluid ounces, or in metric it would be milliliters. So you might have an 8-ounce bowl of soup, 8 liquid ounces, which is different than weight ounces. Yeah, hard for me to go to 12 ounces of milk. That might be the serving of milk that you put out. You might have a super large version of something that is like a quart of coffee. If you get the really super large kind of coffee. So those are all volume measurements. And then there are things that we do by the count. You're making like a bacon cheeseburger. It comes with 4, 6, 8 slices of bacon, whatever your count is. You get 2 eggs over easy with this breakfast. You get 5 large shrimp on the shrimp cocktail. These are all counts. Instead of saying like you get 3 ounces of bacon on your bacon cheeseburger. All that makes sense? Okay, so later on we're going to take a really close look at those things. Okay, so it's going to be important for us to figure out how much does this bowl of chili cost us to serve, or this steak entree with the 2 sides. So we can do a formula, we can do a recipe detail and cost card, which we are going to do. Today we're going to take a look at a butcher test. And the cooking loss test is very much like the butcher test. You just have to do the same thing twice. You do your cleaning and butchering, and then you do the cooking. I'm not going to go over this slide because it's all on the handout. So yield percentage, again, the same thing as your edible portion or edible yield. The percent of a whole purchased unit of meat, poultry, or fish that is available for portioning after any required in-house processing has been completed. So if you are buying like whole chickens in and you're going to butcher them and you're going to have waste, like let's say you're going to debone the chicken. So is there anything you can do with the bones that come out of the chicken? Stop. Yes. Okay. So those bones will be worth something to you, but not as much as the actual flesh of the chicken. Yeah, we'll go over this. This is easier to do on the form. Okay, so again, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse here, but the product yield percent is going to be the edible portion weight divided by the as purchased weight. So you might buy a 15-pound roast, but then by the end of the day, after you trim it and you cook it, it may only weigh 12 pounds. And then when you cut it down and do like 6-ounce portions of it, some of your portions may be 6.5 ounces or 7 ounces. It's what we call like a lossing cutting. So you have to take all of those things into consideration. And then the edible portion cost would be the as purchased price per pound. So if we're paying $12 a pound for the roast, we're actually going to divide it by the product yield percent, and that's going to tell us what the edible portion cost per pound is for that roast. So the product yield the highest it can be is 100%. It's going to be lower than 100% if you have any type of waste at all or loss in cooking. So that means your edible portion cost is going to be higher than the purchase price. And that's going to be important to know because you need to know exactly what your cost is on every recipe that you do. Okay. Why would you want to be a manager in a food production area? You might be good at management, you might be good at organizing things, and you might like doing that kind of work. When I was a culinary student, I was frustrated because they said, you're going to be a good manager one day. It's like, I don't want to be a manager, I want to do the cooking, I want to learn all of that type of stuff. And I ended up doing both. So managing food production process entails controlling 5 areas. Controlling waste, so we want to minimize waste. Overcooking, really hard to repurpose something that you overcook. You overcook a steak, don't like you can give it to somebody else. Over serving, so if you give somebody 7 shrimp in their shrimp cocktail instead of the 5 that is your standard, okay, there's no way you're going to make up that 2 shrimp that you just gave away. Improper carryover utilization. So let's say, you know, our restaurant, today's Tuesday, so last night we pulled out a dozen strip steaks because that's on our menu, and we only served like 8 of them, so we had 4 extra. So improper carryover utilization would be like, okay, 4 people on the staff, just grab one and take it home. Like when you could save it for the next day and still use it on the menu. And then inappropriate make or buy decisions. So a make or buy decision is like you can get in a beef tenderloin and you can have somebody on your staff butcher it into 6-ounce fillets. Okay. Or you can buy them already pre-cut, pre-portioned, but it's going to cost you more. So what kind of things do you have to think about? Are you going to buy it already pre-portioned? Or are you going to buy it whole and have somebody in-house portion it? So if you're the manager of the restaurant, what are you going to do? What are some of the questions you want to have answered first? Okay, do we have the staff that can do that? And what do we do? Like, we have one person, what do we do if they get sick? One of the other first questions you want to look at is how much do we sell of this? Is this something we sell like 2 or 3 of a night, or we sell like 100 a night? Joke. How much waste is involved whenever we have a person do it in-house? Is there waste involved? Okay, product waste. Naturally, product waste. It can happen in quite a few different ways. If you're over purchasing and you have too much in inventory, it can actually go bad while you're storing it. You can have people that do things like overcook something or burn something, and that's waste. It's got to be thrown out. You know, people stealing from you. So in general, this is our textbook saying food waste is the result of poor training, or management inattentiveness. So if you're a manager in a restaurant and you are not paying attention to your inventory and your ordering and your sales, then you probably are going to experience some waste. Increased cooking time or temperature can cause product shrinkage that increases average portion cost. So if you are like trying to rush something but cooking it at a higher temperature, it will shrink up even more, so you get fewer portions out of that product. So to reduce losses from overcooking, management has to strictly enforce standardized recipe cooking time. And a lot of those kind of things are based on, well, you gotta have to reach a minimum internal temperature. And what kind of equipment do we have to do this? Do we have a nice, wonderful, slow cooking unit that we can put this roast in the night before, and then the next day when we come in, it's going to be perfectly done? Or do we have an old convection oven that you have to hit it twice on one side and once on the other side before you get it to work? So proportioning increases operational costs. Can cause the operation to mismatch its production schedule with anticipated demand. So you might be doing prep based on reservations that you have 100 guests tonight. And the person doing the prep is prepping for the way the recipe is written, but then whoever's cooking takes that prep and is adding like an extra cup of chicken stock into every dish that they're doing. And like the next thing you know, there's no chicken stock thought out. Underportioning is also very important. Have you ever been to a restaurant where you and somebody else at the table order the same things? And they come out and it's like clearly different sizes. And do you go back to that place? You might, it doesn't happen all the time, but it's like, it definitely gives you a negative feeling, and depends on where you are. Are you going to say something to the server or ask to speak to the manager? How many people have done that, ask to speak to a manager? Who do you talk to about it? Did you talk to the manager? Right. Okay. You might say something to the server and it's like, hey, let the kitchen know that like this is kind of awkward. It's not very, and we won't feel like we're getting our money's worth here. What are you going to tell your friends? That's the point I'm trying to make. Is like you're probably going to go out and badmouth the place, and that's bad for the restaurant. And again, I have to weigh what I'm going to say in a restaurant because I have a certain position here at the institute, and like I want them to know if there's an issue because I'm not really complaining if there's an issue, but you as an owner should know that there's an issue. Okay, so in most cases, tools are available that will help employees determine proper portion size. So if you're getting a glass of orange juice for breakfast, there's the size of a glass for that. They're not going to give you a big iced tea glass and fill it up with orange juice. You're going to get one of the nice little glasses of orange juice. Coffee cups. This is pretty much by size. And if you go to some place that has varying sizes, you pay for exactly what size you get. Management should also have a clear use in mind for each menu item that may have to be carried over. So you kind of want to minimize like the things that have to be used the day that you get them and that won't carry over to the next day. Or if you do have something like that, what are you going to do if nobody orders it that first day? Can you repurpose it? Can you freeze it and use it later in something else? Okay, determining whether to adopt the use of a convenience product. So that's our make or buy decision. Do we buy those pre-portioned 6-ounce fillets, or do we do that in-house? So one of the questions we ask is the quality acceptable? So are those pre-portioned fillets, is that good enough for what we do in our restaurant? Will the product save labor? Okay, how many people have ever like made pet fillets out of one? Okay, a handful. Alrighty, so like how long would it take you to process like one tenderloin? 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 15 minutes, okay. So, compare that to like taking a little plastic bag, opening it, and then there it is. It's going to save, it will save labor for that type of a thing. Would it matter if the guest knew? And that's unique to every restaurant. Most places, it's not going to matter. I'd be curious to see what steakhouses do, because I really don't know. Does the product come in an acceptable package size? So if the fillets come in 6 ounces, but we want to have an option for like an 8 or a 10-ounce fillet, do they have that product available? Can you get that product? Is storage space adequate? Has anybody ever seen these individually wrapped toys? They're like in the Walmart has them. I don't think I've ever bought one yet, but they have them. So they come in frozen in a case, cryovac, individually cryovac. So you can just pull out as many as you want, thaw them out in the cooler, thaw them under running water if you need to. So do we have enough freezer space and cooler space to store what we need to store? Okay, so that's about as much as this talks about portions. We're going to go ahead and take a look at our handout. Okay, so the top sheet on your handout is the colorful one. And it shows step by step what it is that we're going to be doing with this form. But before we get into those steps, I want to start at the top so that we understand what it is we're looking at. So this is a butcher test card. Shows us that the item that we purchased, the beef tenderloin, grade USDA select, is one piece of it. Total cost is $35.15. It's relatively small. It weighs 5 pounds, and the purchase price was $7.03 a pound. It's really not very realistic. I think you're probably going to be paying more for tenderloin than $7 a pound. So then we have our butcher who is, this person is good and experienced at doing this. Okay, so they are going to do a test for us. Because we're going to make an assumption that we're buying these from XYZ meat company, and they have fairly standardized product regarding like how much fat is on it and what the yield is going to be. So again, it weighs 5 pounds. So after the chef goes or the butcher goes through and processes this, we can weigh out 12 ounces of fat, which is 15% of the total weight. That's what this is telling us over here. Y'all is given this. Velocity in cutting going to be about 5%, it's 4 ounces. So that means that, let's see, we're doing 6 ounce fillets. Some of them are going to weigh 6.25 ounces. Some might weigh 6.5 ounces. The last thing you want to do is make something like 5.5 ounces when you have a 6 ounce fillet on your menu. There's going to be some tip meat that we can use. It amounts to 12 ounces, and if we were to buy that separately, according to this, we have to pay $2.49 a pound for it. And then that leaves us, when we subtract the other items off, 3 pounds, 4 ounces that we can use to go ahead and do these fillets. So all of that adds up to the original 5 pounds. We have a percentage for each, so we have a 65% yield on this. The value of our trimming, it comes to only $1.87 because we only have 12 ounces of the tip meat. So we're going to deduct that from the original price here of the $35.15 that we paid for it. And that means that the usable meat that we have left costs us $33.28. Okay. Any questions so far? All right, so now we're going to go ahead and figure out how much each portion is going to cost us. So we're going to start by first looking at the cost of a usable pound and of a usable ounce. So we figure out the cost per pound by taking the total value that we have, $33.28, and dividing it by the weight, 3 pounds and 4 ounces. Okay, so how do you do that? Like, how do you divide something by 3 pounds, 4 ounces? Is that the same as saying 3.4 pounds? No, it's not. Because how many ounces are in a pound? 16. So you have to take the 4 and divide it by 16 to get a decimal. And you're dividing them by 4. So you're really dividing it by 3 pounds and 4/16 ounces, or 3.25 pounds. And this is wrong. It's 3.75, so already there's a mistake on the handout. Let me go back and just make it this way. That was, I don't remember what I did now. Okay, so in order to match the numbers that you have, just change this to usable meat at 3 pounds, 12 ounces. So then we take total value divided by 3.75, and we get our new price per pound, or our cost of each usable pound at $8.88. Did I lose anybody on that? Okay, so we recalculated our usable meat at 3 pounds, 12 ounces. This is the value of our usable meat. Once we cut it, and we have our turning, and we have our tip meat and the fat, that's the value of the tip meat from the purchase price of the $35.15, and we get the $32.28. So take that number and divide it by the 3 pounds, 12 ounces, which is 3.75 pounds. 12 divided by 16 is 3/4. And that's the number that we get, $8.88 a pound. So that's how much each pound of that tenderloin is costing us. Then, because our portion is going to be in ounces in most cases, we're going to divide it by 16 so that we can get a cost per usable ounce. And that's all that we've done here. And if you have a calculator and you just step through it, it might have a little bit difference in the rounding. I've had this rounded to 2 points. And then I take that answer and divide it by 16. And again, rounded to 2 decimal points. So you might come up a couple of things different if you just file through it on the calculator, and that's fine. So the 56 cents per ounce comes by taking $8.88 and dividing it by 16. We know that our portion size is 6 ounces. So then our portion cost is just going to be these two things, 56 cents per ounce times 6 ounces. And that comes out to $3.36. So put that 6 ounce fillet on the plate. The food cost of $3.36. So now we can consider how much we would sell that fillet for. Pardon me? And that's like, this example is very, very old, and the price per pound is ridiculously low. But if you want to put this on a menu, are you saying like $10 when you're doing that? That's true. Like you just roughly tripling the your food cost kind of gives you an idea. So we have two things over here, which are the cost factors, and this is like the most important part of this. You don't want to have to figure this out one time. What is our cost factor? So you calculate the cost factor per pound by taking this cost per usable pound of $8.88 and dividing that by the original purchase price of $7.03 per pound. And that tells you what that ratio is, or that multiplier is. And then the cost, and we do take this out to 4 decimal points. This is the only thing that we take out that far. 4 decimal points. Cost factor per portion, we're going to take our portion cost and divide it by the purchase price per pound. And that will give us a cost factor proportion. And what that's going to let us do, when we go down to the bottom here, if we have a new purchase price of $7.50 per pound, so it goes up from $7.03 a pound, $7.50 a pound. We take that $7.50, multiply it by our cost factor per pound, and that tells us our new cost per pound for usable meat is going to be $9.47. And then if we use the same $7.50 per pound and multiply it by the portion factor of 0.4780, that means our new cost per portion is going to be $3.59. So it went from $3.36 a portion to $3.59 a portion. And the question is, do we change our menu price? Do we raise the amount that we're going to sell this for on our menu? And again, it's going to have some variables involved in it. The number one thing is going to be how much of this do we sell? We sell less than 10 a night. It's not going to make that much difference. Do we have any idea of trends in the price of beef? If you're looking at food prices this year, what has happened to the price of beef? Going up, and it's going up, consistently it's going up. You don't necessarily know that at the beginning, but after a while, it's like, okay, it's clear this is not going to come down anytime soon. I need to change my menu prices. Okay, so we have another handout. That gives us another butcher's yield test question. Okay, so this time, the bigger tenderloin, and it costs more per pound, although not that much more. It's a 12-pound tenderloin, costing $8.50 per pound. Total cost is $102. We value our fat at $1 a pound. If we had to buy beef fat that we wanted to render down and use for something, we'd have to pay $1 a pound for it in this case. The tip meat, we can say, is worth $5.40 a pound. And that leaves us with 7 pounds of usable meat. And what is the value of that usable meat? It's going to be the purchase price of 102, and then we're going to subtract the value of the fat and the value of the tip meat. False. Oh yeah, okay, look at that. So that comes to $93.95. So then what is the cost of a usable pound? 13.42. So $13.42. Okay, and then what would be the cost of each usable ounce? So we're just going to take this number and divide it by 16. Okay. And then our portion cost. About $6.71. Yeah, I didn't do the rounding on here. Like, I'm not going to. If I just went in and typed 84 cents here, it's going to come out to $6.72. Okay, so our cost factor proportion. And take a look at cost of usable pound and compare it to the purchase price per pound. $1.5790. Anybody get that? Okay. It is, we're looking for the cost factor per pound here. So we're going to take the cost of a usable pound and divide it by the purchase price per pound. And this cost of a usable pound, unless you have 100% clean yield, is always going to be higher than the price per pound. So this number, cost factor per pound, should be higher than 1. And then the portion cost factor, we'll take our portion cost of $6.72 and divide it by the purchase price of $8.50 a pound. Okay. So 0.7906. And since our portion is 8 ounces, which is half a pound, it should be exactly half of the cost factor per pound. So price goes up from $8.50 per pound to $9 per pound. And that's going to tell us what our new cost per pound is. I'm going to take the cost factor per pound times the new price. So our new cost per pound is going to be $14.21. Okay. What is there a question? It's these two things, the cost factor per pound, which is this 1.5790, times the new purchase price per pound, which is right here, $9. So it comes out to $14.21. For the portion cost, it's going to be half of that, but we'll go through the portion factor. and multiply that by the new price per pound, $9. Whoa. That's what am I trying to do? I'm multiplying it, right? Yeah. $7.12. So that's roughly half of what we have going on there. Okay, so there is an Excel problem on the Module 3 quiz that is similar to this. That'll be the only time that you have to go the whole way through this. When I give it to you on an exam, I'm going to give you this information, so you don't have to worry about all of this. And then I'll give you this information, and you just have to give me this back. Okay. Does anybody want to go over the exam? Okay, let me get that. Okay, so, first question, if restaurant sales are less than expenses, that means we're operating at a loss. And if you're following along, on the far left-hand side, there's a tiny little number that says how many points that question is worth. And then anytime I deducted points, I put like a minus 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. So the first page, all of those are 2 points right there. All right, the number 2, our restaurant turnover should be the 572 divided by 150, and the correct answer would be C, 3.8. 3 steps in the control process in order are letter A. Number 4, which of these is not a prime cost? Correct answer is D, overhead. Number 5, how many guests are required to earn a profit of 102,000? Average sales price per unit is $13.50. Fixed cost is $350,000, and the variable rate is 0.540. Okay, so this is, you can do this in one step, but it's kind of a 2-step process. First thing you need to realize is that you need the contribution rate instead of the variable rate. So you subtract from 1 the variable rate of 0.540, and that will give you 0.460. And then you're going to multiply that times $13.50 to get your average contribution margin per unit. And that comes out to, I don't have that on here, or a little bit less than half. It looks like it's between $5 and $6 or something like that. Everybody have that down on there. Number 5. The average contribution margin. 621. Okay. So then we add up the fixed cost plus the profit, which is $452,000. Divide that by the average contribution margin. You should get 72,786. This is letter C. Number 6. We're given fixed cost profit in our sales. We're going to the contribution rate. The contribution rate is fixed cost plus profit divided by total sales. So you get 0.531 on that. Number 7 is what level of sales is necessary to break even. Fixed cost is $260,000. Contribution rate is 0.425. So if this is a one-step thing, you just divide the $260,000 by 0.425, and you should get what is the $611,000. 8. State sells for $38. Food cost is $11. What's the food cost percent? Take the $11, divide by 38, and get 28.9%. Okay, number 9 is when I wrote this, I didn't realize exactly what the number was going to come out to, because I don't do the answers until after I do the exam. The question is asking for a number of guests, just like the one on the prior page did. To earn a profit of $500,000, average sales price per unit is $33.50. Fixed cost is $650,000, and contribution rate is 0.540. So in this case, we have the contribution rate already. We're going to multiply that by the $33.50. I think that came out to $18. You think? Okay. All right, so then we're going to add the profit of 500 to the fixed cost of 650 and divide that by 18.09. You get a 63,571.0 below. But that portion is a person, so we always round that up. And a lot of people, I understand, but it's about 1 point if you didn't round it up. So 63,572 is what we're looking for. Okay, sales mix percentages, starting with number 10. Looking for 16.7%, 25%, 9.7%, 16.0%, 2.6%, 7.7%, and 22.2%. 17, we're calculating the menu price for cashew chicken, so we're going to divide the $4.19 by the 18% food cost, and the rest should be $22.28. Okay. Number 18 involves the income statement. First thing we're calculating is food cost percentage. It is equal to the food cost divided by food sales. 375,250 divided by the 1.1 million and $100. You should get 34.1%. And beverage cost percent is 207,100 divided by 765. 27.1%. Labor cost percent is going to be the total labor cost, which is salaries with benefits and wages with benefits added together. That's 365,000. You divide that by your total sales of 1.8 million, you get 19.6%. And then profit, which is your sales minus all of your expenses, comes up to 295,750. Any questions on the income statement? For the next three, we're calculating the sales price given the food cost and the food cost percentage. So whenever, and like on some of your sheets, I underline price, sales and cost. Always keep in mind you want your sales number to be higher than your cost number. So if you're getting a number where your sales is lower than your cost, you might want to double check the formula that you're using. So these answers for 22, $16.50, $25 even, and $9.39. And then the next group we're calculating looks like our food cost. So in this case, we're multiplying the sales figure by the percentage. Again, the food cost should be lower than the sales price. So the answers we get are $1.15, $7.02, and $4.08. And then calculate beverage cost percent. Beverage cost divided by beverage sales. So we should get 37.5%, 17.7%, and 31%. Number 31, definitely labor cost percent. So we have to add up all the labor costs, which are salaries, wages, and benefits. That comes up to 77,611. Divide that by your total sales, which is 250 plus the 101, or 351,000, and you should get an answer of 22.1%. For the perpetual order method, we're given the par stock of 56 cans. The reorder point is 6 cans times 5 days times 1.5. So that would be 30 times 1.5 or 45 cans. Subtract that, and we get a subtotal of 11 cans. Normal usage to delivery is the 6 cans times 5 days, or 30. We add those together and get a reorder quantity of 41. A periodic order method. The amount required for the upcoming period. We order every week, so it's a 7-day period. We use 5 cans per day, so 7 times 5 is 35 cans. We're given, we have 18 on hand, so we get a subtotal of 17. Amount needed until delivery is the 5 times the 3. And then we're multiplying that by 1.5 again to get that 50% safety factor. So it would be 15 times 1.5, which comes up to 22.5, and you round that up to 23. And you add that to the subtotal and get a reorder quantity of 40 cans. Questions on that? So then the next one is the requisition, number 38, 34. We've got 8 times 379 gives us $30.32. 36 times $1.79 would be $64.44. 20 times 99 cents would be $19.80. 5 pounds times $1.39 is $6.95. 4 times $3.39 would be $13.56. I realized after I printed the exam that I should have put per jar instead of per pound there, because 16-ounce jar is not necessarily a pound of pickles. Okay. And all that totals up to $135.07. Okay, extra credit. Calculate the contribution rate for the income statement on page 5 of the exam. So I think it was kind of split 50-50 of the people that tried to do this. Some thought it was easier to get the variable rate first, others thought it was easier to get the contribution rate straight. So I go straight to the contribution rate. But you could do it the other way. So if you're figuring out the variable rate, you look at the income statement. The variable rate is going to be our variable costs, which is our food costs, our beverage costs, and the wages benefits. If the wages are variable, hourly workers, their hours vary from week to week, so it's going to be a variable cost. So those 3 things added together, divided by the total sales. Or you could take your total overhead of 622, add it to your fixed cost of salary benefits of 108,000, and then add your profit to it of 295,750. Divide that by total sales. And that answer comes to 0.589. You calculated the variable rate correctly, it would have been 0.411, and then you would subtract that from 1 to get the contribution rate. Questions? Okay, that's going to be it for today, and we'll meet Thursday and look at chapter 7. I did not want the exams back. I don't have them. I just got it.